like to call the May 4th, 23 meeting of the election board to order. We do not have any minutes to review. The office has been very busy with multiple different things, including a primary election, so we'll move, and we have no old business, so we'll move right into new business, and the first thing on the agenda is updates from the clerk's office.
Hello and good afternoon. We came through the primary on May 2nd, and I just wanted to give you some numbers with the caveat that all numbers are unofficial until the provisional ballots have been reconciled on May 12th, 10 days after the election. So the unofficial information that I want to share with you is that there were 49,243 voters who were eligible to participate in the municipal primary. In some way, 8,314 voters participated. And again, unofficially, there were 3,203 voters who showed up in person to vote early. 19 voters requested travel board. There were 411 requests for mail ballots, and as of election evening, 42 of those ballots were not returned to us. And then there were 6 emailed ballots. Those are for overseas and military, and all 6 of those were returned. I don't believe we had very many provisional ballots. We won't know officially how many provisional ballots we had until we reconcile those on the 12th. This is an opportunity to thank all of the candidates who stood up and put their name in the hat, and congratulate those who were successful. And I'd like to encourage those who were not to consider running for future offices. Most importantly, I want to thank our poll workers. I want to thank my staff. I want to thank my election board members and anyone else who helped us to put on what I consider to be a successful municipal primary. We are very grateful. We could not do this without you. I am aware of very few issues from election day, no significant complaints. Couple people called in at the last minute. We were able to scramble and get those positions filled, and we are very grateful again to everyone who participated in this municipal election. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Clerk Brown. Next on the agenda is the hearing procedure that we have slated for the 18th. We, as a board, need to basically roll out how we're going to conduct that hearing. We have circulated for discussion today a bit of a template that was provided to us by IED, how they conduct their hearings on the same matters. It was about 50 pages long, however, because they have multiple people that they have to take care of at the same time. Let's just say that.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question prior to us discussing the template? Is it too late to extend an invitation for a speaker?
I don't see why not. We have plenty of time until the 18th.
I am requesting, based on the correspondence I reviewed, to invite Matthew Kochivar to attend the May 18th hearing in the similar manner that we invited the property owner.
Okay.
That if you're not able to attend and would care to voluntarily, I understand we cannot mandate, but if you would voluntarily want to submit a statement.
I don't have any problem, and I certainly have the same questions based on the mentioning of him in the letter, and I'm sure he may have something to say about that, would be my guess. So how do we want to do that? Do we want to draft an additional letter, or use the same template? Or do we even need to do that? Would one of us just send an email?
I don't want to make this harder. I would say the same letter, but we would want to send it out quickly to give them time to respond.
Just so I have clarification then, is it the request to have Indiana Election Division Counsel Matt Kochivar speak as a subject matter expert to the hearing, or
David wasn't privy to
yeah?
the letter until, well.
Well, I know that we've had some proxying of this position on this matter, but there's no proxy current for the hearing.
His name was specifically invoked
Right.
in correspondence.
Right.
I
Okay.
would want to speak for myself in the event that my words,
Okay.
so
So it would be an opportunity for him to speak to
to,
his name being invoked in the letter that Mr. Bender provided.
correct.
Okay. And not in a capacity where he's speaking as a subject matter expert on Title III, for example.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that he would, it would be my understanding that he would be speaking on what he said as a subject matter expert, though, perhaps. What advice he may have given or not given. And in my eyes, it could be simply, I concur with what Mr. Bender said, or I disagree with what Mr. Bender said, and here is what happened. You know,
Correct.
right? Like that's the only way I see it happening. Surprises can certainly happen, but I think that I would want that opportunity as well, if not anything else. So, do I have a motion on that?
I will make a motion to invite Mr. Kochiver to the May 18th hearing before the Monroe County Election Board.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed?
Abstain.
Fair. I don't know, should we redo that then? Because if you seconded it,
I can abstain on a second, but abstain.
okay.
Yeah.
Then can you restate the motion?
I am making a motion to invite Mr. Kochivar to appear at the May 18th hearing before the Monroe County Election Board.
And I will second, and then hearing a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed or abstaining?
Abstain.
Thank you. Vote passes 2-1, or is adopted 2-1. We will, would you like me to circulate that draft letter just with Matthew's name inserted, essentially? I would contend that a letter would be more than sufficient does he have the letter from Mr. Bender? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
I assume we should provide that to him then as well.
Mr. President, just as a point of order, I think it's a 2-0 vote. I think you said 2-1.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just make sure you know. Yeah, we have it for the
Thank you
record.
for that clarity.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, perhaps we provide him a copy of that letter. Sounds sufficient to me. Okay, thank you.
And I'm happy to circulate the draft to the members of the election board. If you want to provide it to me, I would be cautious about circulating the draft to a quorum of the election board.
Yeah, that's fine. You just please insert the Matt Kovichar's information. I don't know that we need to really edit anything else.
I have the templates of the letters that you provided to the landlord and Mr. Bender. So is it the board's wish that I just use the template for the landlord letter, fill in Mr. Kochivar's information, and then I can send it to you as a draft for approval?
Yeah, and removing all irrelevant information such as leases and so far and so forth. So, okay, any other questions on that?
No, sir.
All right. For clarity, Mr. Henry, do you intend to abstain from the hearing procedure as well, just to be, so I'm not talking to you directly if you don't want me to?
I am a member of the board. If I choose to vote or abstain on the procedure,
Okay,
that's my option.
I
But
just
thank you for
didn't
asking.
want to, okay, understood. So next on the agenda is the hearing procedure, and we have a draft out there. Hopefully the board has had an opportunity to review it. I tried to make it as simple as possible, trying to encompass everything that we needed to get through. Are there any questions, concerns, changes, anything like that we need to make? I do have one suggestion for an insertion that I think I unintentionally omitted.
Yeah, Mr. President, I do, and I think it's toward the last page of the idea here. So if a person came to the hearing and after your invited participants made their statements, if a person was in the audience that had additional information, would you allow for that to be entertained? If there's anyone else who had germane information for the deliberation of the hearing? Or should that, or are you looking to only hear from invited persons?
So the IED template did not provide for any folks that were not, that I saw, that were not invited. I don't believe that that's out of bounds. I would say if that were the case, though, I think that we probably would have been made aware of that by now. So I guess we certainly can entertain a motion on that. I don't have a problem with that, but at this time I would say it's not included. And if we do take a motion and it fails, I would, however, publicly invite whoever that is to contact the board or council in lieu of that speaking.
Sure. Since we got this template from the Indiana Election Division and/or the Indiana Election Commission, I would imagine that scenario has come up. Would we be able to get some guidance on how they address that? Do they ask them to reveal themselves prior? Do they take it at a public meeting?
And this is why I ask, and maybe council, or Molly, this might be a good question to look into. For example, as those of us that were involved with a previous hearing before the Secretary of State in the fall regarding the recount, there was not an opportunity, if this is the template they used, there was not an opportunity for someone in the audience, including the candidate, to offer statement. They had a very prescriptive schedule, and the speakers that were identified early were given the opportunity, myself as, in that case, the respondent, or the plaintiff, and then the respondent. So that's why I ask, because their template is prescriptive, whereas I would imagine if there's a circumstance where additional counsel was in the audience that day, or for other persons mentioned in a letter, if Bender's counsel himself or herself was there, if those were not listed by name in here, I don't know what mechanism we'd have to hear, or the board would hear to have that. That's all I raise. I don't know if this is too limiting. Counsel, or County Attorney Molly, what do you think? I mean,
well, I don't know that I could speak to what I think, if the template is adequate and meets due process needs, because I haven't seen this template. I have no idea what the template provides or what procedures it doesn't allow. So if you'd like to share the template with me, I'm happy to look at it.
I don't have any problem with that. I don't intend to have another meeting previous to May 18th. So I would like to get all of this squared away today.
Sure, absolutely. So I guess for me, the Indiana Election Commission or the Indiana Election Division, I just cannot imagine that their template does not meet due process. They do this far more than we do, times 92. So I'm comfortable following a template that they have outlined. I just would want to have their guidance on how, I think we're all interested in transparency. And so how we just make it possible for there to be a forum for anybody who has information relative to this.
So the one thing I would say to your question, Mr. Henry, that the candidate under 2E, the candidate and/or counsel has the opportunity to speak under that section of the hearing, and I think that's exactly how it should be. Since we definitely spoke about counsel being in our invitation, being allowed almost in lieu of the candidate himself. So I would be happy to go about this however you guys so choose. I'm just not interested in having an additional meeting about it prior to the 18th.
Well, Mr. President, I go back to what you said. So it sounds like you would be amenable to taking a motion at the hearing if there was someone in the audience that had additional information to take a motion and then vote on allowing that person to speak.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
right?
I would
Okay.
assume we can, that would be amending the hearing procedure,
Okay.
I guess, prescriptively. But I think in the meantime, I would like to seek IED's counsel on whether or not they think that's a wise choice, I guess is the best.
And there's
Is that-
nothing, yeah, and there's nothing to prevent you from adopting a procedure as your first action prior to engaging in the hearing itself. So if you got guidance back contrary before May 18, you could adopt that procedure and then proceed. Okay.
We could adopt it
Well,
right
I
there.
agree with you. I would not want to hold up any additional meetings on the matter until the hearing itself. So I agree viciously on that.
All right. So then, if there are no other potential amendments, the one thing I had a question mark under who might administer the oath. Is there anyone on the board that is interested in doing that?
I would be happy to administer the oath. Are you hopeful that anybody who would be preparing to speak, that they are all sworn in at the same time?
I would
Or
say-
individually as they would come up?
I would say for efficiency purposes, we should just, in theory, it would be 3 people. So all at the same time. Is that fair?
Right.
Okay.
Sounds efficient.
Okay, so, and then after that I kind of wrote 3A as our draft. I neglected to then, after we open the hearing and the summary, kind of as a template, re-enter what we're actually going to be doing after that. So I put it under 2 so that we would basically outline what's going to happen. And then for us, I just didn't reinsert it as a template on what we would actually be doing when. So I just would argue that I should put that back in there. That's my only amendment. So if you guys are okay with that.
I am. I guess I have one procedural question. So for county attorney or county legal, so if we vote and adopt the template that the president has put forward here for the board, that becomes publicly available. So that document would go up because we voted on the procedure and the public would be made aware.
That would be a public document that
Okay.
Would be available
Yeah.
as such.
I'd like to get this out in the public as soon as possible, seeing as it's that significant. So, okay.
So I guess I would, I don't know if we need to actually vote on any of that, just to amend this, because it's a draft anyway. And then I should probably send it back to Molly for circulation. And then if we don't have any issues with it, that'll just be presented as our template for the hearing. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will do that, and Molly will get that back out to us. Any other questions on the hearing?
No, sir.
Okay. Next on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any in the audience or online? I will wait just a second to see if we see any hands.
Is there a chat box?
Is there a chat box or anything that we might need to see? Okay. Wonderful. Doesn't look like anything. All right. Next election board meeting is set, regular meeting is set for June 1st, but we do have a hearing on May 18th in this room at 1 p.m., regularly scheduled time. And I believe the clerk's office has already requested and affirmed that the room is available.
Yes. And I will be making a motion to recess because we have a date and a time for the next meeting, which is the hearing.
And we have Friday for provisionals.
You are correct. You are correct, sir.
We will be, so we'll take a motion for recess pending return on Friday for provisional ballots. Fair.
Correct, but that will be at Election Central so that the ballots can stay in Election Central.
Before we recess, I know we're in public comment space, and I don't think we had a good chat about the clerk's report. I just want to say before we take them to the vote or the motion, publicly just thanking the clerk's office for just a well-run election. Yeah, it was a nice, clean election. We had, and I know that it's been anecdotally reported, I spent some time digging through the clerk's binders and records going back 50 years, but as I understand it, we had a record turnout in this municipal primary based on those numbers that have been presented, going back quite some time, especially at least from my party's seat. More Democratic votes cast than we've seen in a very long time in our community, and that's a testament to not just the campaigns, but the efficiency of the poll working, the throughput in getting people through at almost 350 votes an hour at the polling places on election day. And I just wanted the public to say thanks for that, and to our community for showing up and continuing to show up. So thank you, Clerk Brown.
Thank you. I believe that I put in one of the emails that I sent out to the media that my staff was saying that we simply weren't getting the kinds of calls that we are accustomed to getting. Many people are upset at the municipal when they realize that they live outside the geographical boundaries to be eligible to vote. But I had a gentleman email me back and forth that day, and once I finally said, you know, you're outside, he said, okay, thank you. I feel like there was someone who was upset, but it never escalated to anything, never rose to the level of concern that we would call in a third party or anything. And I think people will just wait to see if there's anything that happens this summer as far as another candidate.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, and I would echo the same thing. Thank you to you and your office. Okay, is there a motion to recess?
I will make a motion to recess until May 12th at 12:01 p.m.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in recess.